the ecosystem lead for storage providers at Filecoin, and he's a seasoned executive who's helped build out 2 successful startups. Today, he's bringing decentralized storage to the mainstream enterprise customers. And finally, we have Elliot. Elliot is an engineering manager and leads developer growth for RippleX Engineering. He joined Ripple in 2017 as a senior ledger's client libraries, SDKs, APIs. In 2021, he helped to launch XRPL Grants, a developer grant program that's already supported 60 projects in the XRP community and continues to support more developers at xrplgrants.org. Thank you all for joining us on stage. So, as I mentioned, the first question we have today is, what is the real purpose of hackathon ecosystem, and how are they different than hackathons in Web 2?
Yeah, that's a great question. At first, hackathons in Web 2 was more about meetups. It started off at having these hacker meetups, and then they turned into hackathons. Hackathons are really all about providing opportunity. There's so many new tools out there, new ways to explore and create your developer sandboxes. So always look to these hackathons as a way to gain leverage about cutting edge tooling that's going to help my job as a developer be better, right? And leverage what's trending in the space. Now, it's the same for Web 3, and we're rinsing and repeating, but this time we've learned a lot of lessons from Web 2. And again, it's all about opportunity. It really is to give exposure and promote your network. I mean, it's a fantastic opportunity to join a hackathon, so that way you can gain network exposure, build your sandbox, and have the tools that make you effective with your impact.
Totally.
Yeah, I think in addition to learning new skills, I think looking for, I guess, setting yourself for opportunities for jobs in the industry is one thing that I've seen, and then also just setting yourself up to potentially build a project and then see that through into an actual company where you're building a team and building on a product for years ahead. So a couple examples, we had a guy, about top 10 in one of the Polkadot hackathons we ended up hiring him at Acala, and now he's kind of moved on to my Ether wallet. So really cool to see his career progress. And then another team in the Polkadot ecosystem called Unique Network. They're building a parachain specific to NFTs. They actually won this Kusama hackathon that we ran about 3 years ago, and now they've launched on Polkadot mainnet. So really cool to kind of see progress from where we are now today at this hackathon all the way through to actually launching a product.
Yeah, Stefan, I agree. So first of all, what we're seeing with all the hackathons that we run at Filecoin, and we run tens or sometimes 30 a quarter, is that when you're building new applications or decentralized apps, it's typically a multi-chain implementation. We deliver storage, and so every application has to store some data, but we can't you can't just store data. You have to process data. You need smart contracts and so on. So in these hackathons, we collaborate with Chainlink and other chains to really create a full end-to-end solution, because every chain has different capabilities. And so to me, the Web3 hackathons that we run, we do it together with other partners, because we understand that in this decentralized web, you have to build these relationships, and you have to really understand the different characteristics to build a good decentralized app. So.
Totally.
Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Elliot Lee, and I'm currently an engineering manager at RippleX Engineering and leading our developer growth efforts. I'm reminded of how I got into coding. Really, I was motivated because I wanted to create my own games. It was really a lot of fun because I had my own idea and I was pursuing it in the way that I wanted to. And I think that's really the key with hackathons, is that you get to work on something that you really care about, something that you have a particular interest and expertise in. And it's also a great way to experiment with new technologies. In fact, I remember participating in my first hackathon back when I was in college at USC, back around 2005, 2006. And it was a great way to really spark my creativity, get to know other students that were in computer science at the time, and work together on a new project and learn new technologies.
I'm so glad you brought up the fact that it's really about meeting people. And I think one thing that can make hackathons really challenging, especially in a digital format, is finding a team. And so I'm wondering if your experience at hackathons, how have you seen people form teams, and what makes a team have really good synergy?
Yeah, well, I'll take that real quick. So I just want to share, I lived in a rural area in California, so I did not have access to technology. So community was extremely important to me. And I wanted exposure. It's like the hardest part was, how do I get into the space? How do we get in tech? This is where my passion is. So hackathons, that's exactly how I entered the space. It was my foot in the door. So I want to express that finding a community and utilizing a hackathon is an excellent way to introduce you to expand your network and open those doors. I definitely enjoy hackathons and also sharing opportunities in the community. Once when you get there, it's about passing it forward.
Yeah, and I would also say, like, we in our hackathons, what we've seen amazing teams that still need a little bit of help as well, and so we provide them with grants, $5,000 grants, $30,000 grants, and we invested a lot in helping them get through an actual accelerator or help build their business through training modules, and so I want to comment to that, because in the end it's about building community, and a community it's really hard to build that from your home office, and so people still want to meet in person, and that's why it's so important that we follow all these hackathons with the right support. Grants and accelerator programs. Yeah.
That's one of the amazing things about the way we've set up the Web3athon Discord. Because we have so many different sponsors, each of you actually have your own channel in Discord where you can connect with other people who are building with the same technology. So not only do you have the amazing experts at each of these chains who are going to be providing you with support, but you can also learn from each other. It's really all about meeting people and networking, sort of as we've been talking about. And then in addition to that, there's also different channels for each country that's participating, so you can meet other people who are experiencing sort of the same cultural experience as you. So you can come up with ideas and expand your creativity and imagine what's possible. I think that the other thing that's important, again, is learning. And Brandy, I know we've talked about some of the amazing stuff Celo is doing to help bring people into the process of learning about Web3, and I was wondering if you could each maybe speak to education sort of on your chains.
Oh yeah, so obviously my background in Udacity, I value education, and also because of the lack of access, living in a rural area, I believe the education system failed me, so it's more important than ever to be able to do a knowledge share with the community. And since we're globally focused, it's like we have this ability now to move those walled gardens. So I'm proud that working at the Celo Foundation, I get to help make an impact. And it's an iterative cycle. It's just like standard engineering. You have to go through ebbs and flows, through various iterations to improve on it. And it always starts with the docs, right? Developer documentation support. Naturally, we invested in that. But it's more so, how can we make sure that this education experience boosts your curiosity, right? Because when you look at education, at least from my perspective, it's all about driving curiosity. The more I'm curious, the more I want to learn. And for me, that's the most important part. It's like, let's feed each other's curiosity and let's do a knowledge share without a walled garden.
Yeah. Totally. And other educational resources.
Yeah, definitely. So with Filecoin, we built NFT.storage because we saw a huge demand of NFT adoption. We store 66 million NFTs, and what we realized is that a lot of people still were trying to figure out how do you build an NFT? What are dynamic NFTs? So we built nftschool.dev specifically to support the developers during the hackathons to understand how to build one on multiple chains, right? So we are very complementary to other chains because we do believe that it's an ecosystem of multiple chains that will collaborate together. But just that was sort of like that came out of the hackathons, the feedback of like, hey, we need more support, very tailored. And so we'll probably continue to do that. Not just NFT, but maybe video, content, etc. So, yeah.
That's one of the reasons that participating in hackathons is so important, because it's a great opportunity to give feedback back to the chains about what developers need to make, and any sort of builder needs in order to be successful in their ecosystem. But one thing that's also important is to marry the technical expertise with an idea that could really...
Establishing carbon markets. In fact, some of my awesome colleagues at Ripple, Peter Rosberg and Julian Treisman, are working on awesome ways to establish and scale up carbon markets. And the XRP ledger is ideally suited for this, both because it's a carbon neutral blockchain and not making the problem worse, and also because it's very fast and very efficient. So the transaction fees are a tiny fraction of a penny. In fact, if you take like 1 cent of XRP, that's enough to pay for about 2,000 transactions on the XRP ledger.
Yeah, for Acala, we're most excited about the DeFi and financial use cases that can be built using our stablecoin as well as our platform. The way we kind of think about DeFi right now is that because the user experience is still so challenging and getting kind of the mass market into crypto, a lot of our focus is building, of course, DeFi native products, but then also working with some of our partners in the fintech space, like Current.com out of New York. So a lot of the applications that you could build in this hackathon, which include potentially like bringing yield to a stablecoin, money markets, exchanges, things like this, can also be plugged in as a DeFi backend with a bunch of fintech companies in the real world who are looking to bring, for example, high yield savings to their customers who are using a regular app on their iPhone or Android with the experience they're used to using. So I think really excited to see what people build in this kind of category of DeFi.
Just before we keep digging in, can you explain what DeFi is for the folks at home?
Yeah, so, I mean, do you mind?
Go ahead, I can add on.
So decentralized finance, you have what's known as traditional finance. Legacy finance is, from my point of view, it's like the stock market, right? You have Dow Jones, you have mutual funds, you have exchange traded funds, you have all these availability of storing wealth and creating wealth through these legacy channels. And I do mean legacy channels because the whole purpose of Web3 is like, let's bring this to the next generation and provide accessibility for everybody. And so decentralized finance is all about the filling the gap and making it accessible for all to participate with requiring permission. And that's the thing that I enjoy most about DeFi is the layer of removing friction for the everyday person, no matter where you're at in this world. If you have an internet connected device, you can participate. That's DeFi.
Yeah. And, oh, go ahead.
Exactly. So I wanted to agree and add a couple comments. So I'm from the US. In my opinion, we're spoiled to be able to earn and spend dollars, just like people in Europe are spoiled, in my opinion, and other people with strong currencies. But what we forget is there's a lot of people living in places like Venezuela, Argentina, where the currencies are inflated beyond belief, and people there struggle to kind of keep up. They also don't have access to the same financial system that we do in certain parts of the world. So one of the kind of most rewarding parts about working in DeFi is just opening up this kind of alternative financial system for people, especially in parts of the world who don't have access to the financial services like credit and loans, for example, that we have in certain parts of the world.
Yeah. And one thing that I hadn't mentioned is that because Web3athon is a virtual event, that extends for the next 3 months, not even just ending today. We do actually have folks participating from all over the world. And so I'm really glad you were talking about some of the use cases and how we can help create financial health and create generational wealth using this technology. I think it's, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to touch base. I didn't get to share about like Celo.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So our focus too, like XRP is to environmental well-being, right? We take a lot of pride that we're a layer 1 blockchain, mobile first blockchain, by the way. Our focus is on mobile device because the way that we're going to provide access, like with DeFi, is through the mobile device. Because these communities that lack access typically need a leapfrog technology utilizing the mobile device. They don't have carbon, fiber or fiber optics, carbon fiber, good grief, but fiber optics giving them connectivity. So they need a leapfrog, and now they have access. So how do we get them access? And that's through these mobile devices. So we're a mobile-first, carbon-negative blockchain. And so we invest a lot into what's also known as regenerative finance, refi, another fantastic term that's kind of challenging, but just think it's now, we already explained, and we explained together about DeFi. Refi is really another layer about taking these carbon credits, sustainable climate-focused projects, and then fractionalizing them so that way every person in this world has the ability to participate. Right now, if you wanted to participate with carbon credits, it's like, where do you start? Where do you go to get this access? How can you participate in this new climate-focused green energy alliance that's occurring? And so fractionalizing these carbon credits and making it available to everyday users, that's important to us. So that's essentially regenerative finance.
This is actually
Thank you.
This is actually a great transition to talking a little bit about what makes each of these chains special, right? And we have a lot of people in our audience who aren't native to this space, right? Like a lot of these buzzwords, I think, aren't necessarily the thing that's going to help them make the decision of like, I have this amazing idea, what technology am I going to use to build it? So maybe, Dan, if you could take a stab at talking about Acala and sort of how people should think about what the best project to build on Acala would be.
Yeah, definitely. So I've touched on this a little bit, but Acala is we call it a parachain. This is basically a layer 1 that is built on Polkadot. One of the coolest things about Acala is that just like any other parachain built on Polkadot, it can be upgraded continuously as we go forward. So just like you can update an app on your phone, we can continue to improve our blockchain and upgrade it without having to fork the network. If you're not familiar with the fork, maybe that's too much to get into now. You can Google the Bitcoin fork and Ethereum. But we have a stablecoin built into our blockchain, so anyone building on our chain can kind of natively access that out of the box. And then, yeah, I've touched on the best use cases for Acala. We specialize in DeFi. And then applications that are built on Acala can also interact with all the other blockchains built on Polkadot. So we believe in kind of application-specific blockchains. So as I said, we focus on DeFi, but there's other blockchains focusing on things like Internet of Things or privacy or NFTs. These are all kind of connected in one connected kind of universe on Polkadot.
And Stefan, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, Filecoin is the largest decentralized storage platform out there. So perfect use cases are NFT marketplaces storing their NFTs in a decentralized manner. So look at us as I would say, Airbnb of cloud storage. So if you have any application that stores data, then you can use Filecoin, which exists of 4,000 systems worldwide across 44 different countries. And today, we actually reached 100 petabytes of data actually stored on Filecoin, which is amazing. That's NFTs, research data, public data sets from New York City, UC Berkeley. It's amazing to see all the data sets that are being protected on Filecoin. And why would you store it on Filecoin? Because with Filecoin, you can access your data from anywhere in the world. You have a unique hash, and that data gets verified on a daily basis. So you're guaranteed that the data that you stored is really the original data. And that's really why we're growing so fast. And it's amazing to see all the growth.
Yeah, when it comes to the XRP ledger, it was actually first launched in 2012, which makes it about 10 years old now, giving it one of the longest and most reliable track records of any public decentralized blockchain. In fact, it is a public permissionless blockchain, just like other blockchains that you might consider. But the XRP ledger is continually developed. It has an amazing team of expert C++ developers developing and maintaining it, fixing bugs, making sure that it stays secure and scalable. And it's also a great way to really get into crypto overall. We have great documentation on xrpl.org, some tutorials and walkthroughs that you can go and see. And the XRP ledger actually pioneered a lot of the new innovations that other chains later adopted, like the account-based model, fee burning, the on-chain DEX, or decentralized exchange. So when you issue assets on the XRP ledger, you can immediately access liquidity and allow users to trade with other tokens on the XRPL.
This is so exciting. I think that it really reflects sort of the diversity in these chains. The reason we have so many different options of technologies for people to choose from. We have all these different themes, and we know that you're going to be able to find the technology that's perfect for your project. The last question I have, I think as we're wrapping things up, is what's one piece of advice, real quick, that you would give to someone that Web3athon's their first hackathon?
Well, real quick, anybody here understand what a hash function is? Raise your hand if you know what a hash is, or a hash function. Okay, excellent. So, I mean, it's important to understand the one-way hash and what a one-way hash function is. So as jumping into a hackathon, if you're new to Web3, get yourself acquainted with hashing. It's super important. That's literally how the identity starts. So tons of resources on the internet. Check out one-way hash function. I'm super excited for you guys. You're on a new journey, and this is repeating what happened in the internet in the early 90s. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, I think from my experience, the only way of actually learning in crypto, whether you're non-technical like me or whether you're a developer, is to actually do and learn by doing. So first of all, if you're in the hackathon, you're already making a huge step in your own kind of development in the industry. And the other thing is just the importance of meeting people. So as you build your groups, but also interacting with other groups, just beginning to form your network in the crypto and Web3 space, because these people you'll most likely keep interacting with for years to come.
Yeah. Also for me personally, when I moved into Web3, and I wanted to get into Web3, and I was like, where am I going to start? It's overwhelming. I want to do this, I want to do that. And it basically came back and asked myself the question, what is important to me? And what am I really good at? And that's, because I built storage before, I said, okay, well, Filecoin, Protocol Labs, that's the future, because I understand it, I understand the market, I understand the utility, I understand how to, promote what I have to offer. And that is actually the advice that I give most people is like, if you want to get into Web3, just ask yourself, what's my skill? What do I really, what makes me passionate?
Yeah, Catherine mentioned earlier XRPL grants, and one piece of advice I would have is to consider applying for a grant at xrplgrants.org. We're going to be opening up the application process for the next wave next month, and in this wave there's actually a focus, a theme around sustainability as well as DEI, so I think that's a great way to get plugged in. You can put your email address there to get notified. Also, this might be a little bit controversial, but I would say that if you're non-technical, I would welcome you to, even then, take a look at the technical documentation. I think that coding is sort of like the literacy of the 21st century. Like, you don't have to become an expert or anything like that, but you do need to have that sort of hands-on sort of experience that I mentioned, where you do want to see what the code looks like, play around with it, see what it's like to use.
Oh, amazing. Well, let's give our panelists a round of applause. Don't go away. After this, we're going to take a short break, but we're going to have a second Meet the Change session where we'll be talking about a lot of the same themes, but different technologies. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job, Catherine.